Hello for Pisces Moon reading. Hello to you. Welcome to the Pisces Moon reading. Hello, my name is... sensing like... Well, I just had an awkward introduction there, but let's take it. An awkward introduction. An awkward beginning for Pisces. Just so you know, these readings are for if you have a Pisces Moon, or if you are a Pisces Sun and you want to read about it, that's fine too. And, you want to like use that reading in that way, or, interpret it in that way. But mostly what I'm getting is that these are timing messages. These are messages for everybody that will occur at specific times. I've got an issue right now where there's a delay between the audio and the screen. I'm seeing that, so my apologies, but hopefully everything lines up okay. How might I solve that? I think it's because I'm also uploading. A delay. I'm taking the messages here too. There's a delay, there's a timing delay, something's off. Things aren't, well, the Taurus reading was like things are not aligned. Things aren't lining up. I'm feeling frozen in the face of things not lining up. I have this sense of pause, like just waiting for things to line up, like stepping back and just letting the stuff get moving. Almost like it takes a minute for all the parts to fire up. And then once they do, ooh. And it's that pause, that moment while everything's getting started. It's an awkward beginning. It's messy. It's rattly. And maybe, if we had a more fine-tuned machine, it wouldn't be so... We wouldn't have to wait this 5 minutes before we got rolling. But we got to let it warm up. An awkward beginning is an indication that it's time to just give it a minute to warm up, and it'll go back to feeling like kind of more lined up. These cards are these are the cards. Awkward. That's such an awkward way for cards to come out. It's all being communicated in the kinetic space. So I would say not so much exactly the feeling space of Pisces, but in the noticing the awkward moments. The messages are in the awkward moments. So cool. Finally, a use for our awkwardness. The Moon and the Three of Swords. Warming up. Letting things warm up. There's a mismatch. Things are broken. Things are maybe, like Three of Swords says broken heart, but I would say even the energy of like something, a machine needs to warm up before you start operating the machinery is... Maybe I'm sensing that something's going to break down, something's going to shut off, and it's going to need to be rebooted. And if it gets rebooted and it's not working properly, just give it a minute. It needs time to warm up. I see this wave coming in on the Moon card, the tide. Now, just so you know, I am streaming this too, so I'm reading what's in the chat. At the same time, I'm just paying attention. I think somebody said the Ides of April, which is funny. The tides. The tides of March. Maybe this is back to something that happened in March. The Spirit of Pentacles. Maybe specifically with like Taurus energy. So Taurus, when the Moon was in Taurus in March. Timing specific. I have a feeling I'm going to have to start pausing the uploads. My computer's going a bit wacky. Ooh. Okay, there we go. 6 of Cups. And it wants to be kind of left aside. Stands apart. Well, this is very interesting. Very Pisces feel. I'm going to have to get a whole lot of info, collect all the data before we come to any conclusions about anything. Let's just roll around in this energy for a bit. Sound right, Pisces? Simultaneously to something that happened when the moon was in Taurus in March. Not causal. Correlating what also was happening in and around then. Or simultaneous to that timing. Never mind. Something also happened in the past. Well, this is so... Pisces isn't giving me information. Pisces is giving me structure. The structure of things. 3 of Wands. And in reverse, again, 33 is something that I noticed not too long ago. So I'm seeing a mirror here, but... This is so complex. The 3 of Wands, the 6 of Cups. In the past, we could see. In the past, there was a way to see. Everything was kind of lining up. It used to be fine, somebody says. And 9 of Swords, when things were fine, you weren't. I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was, making all the right moves, is what somebody might say to you in and around this time. But also, I would say, never mind. In and around the Pisces moon, somebody might say to you something like this. I thought I was doing everything right. I remember doing all the right things, so it doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up. Why are you upset? Is like that kind of, why are you upset? Why aren't you saying anything? Why didn't you say something? That's what it is. Why didn't you say something? We were there. Why didn't you say something before? So many things to say, that's why. Where to start? The Dreamer of Cups. Look at that. And the Dreamer of Cups is the Page of Cups. And this is this is relating to a very specific incident where and I see Pisces energy as using the Taurus message with the Spirit of Pentacles and the 3 of Wands, because those 2 cards were in the Taurus reading, to communicate to me that this is about a time when someone literally said, why didn't you say anything? And they're trying to offer, there's almost like Pisces energy is here to kind of like give us something, trying to offer, trying to kind of feel out how we respond when we hear those words. Or there's almost like this is testing energy, trying to test you. 2 of Pentacles. Except, how are you supposed to know that? How are you supposed to know that this is just a test? Pisces. Oh. It's really hard. It's like, it's like being a teacher, and you have to remember that people don't know as much as you. And you have to remember, you have to empathize with the idea that somebody doesn't have the same experience as you. That's tough for Pisces energy, because they're always in that boat where they have to always reach out to kind of imagine that somebody has less going on than they do. The priestess of dreams, the high priestess. Why didn't you say anything at the time? Is going to come to a resolution. And it's in a similar fashion as the Gemini energy. It's to say, ooh, my tummy is hungry. It's to say, because I'm not a fish. Hopefully I'm expressing this correctly. Why didn't you say anything? Because I'm not a fish. I didn't know that, there would be like I didn't know, or you maybe have this sense of there were too many things to say. It wasn't practical. We were in the middle of stuff. Like there wasn't a way to explain it all for where we were, or basically like it wasn't relevant. I didn't think it was relevant is kind of what I see here. You are basically isolated from Pisces energy. Pisces energy is isolated from itself. There's almost like branching out, fish out of water, that Pisces has to do. This is so meta. So Pisces has to kind of branch outside of itself in order to relate with others. And if you are a Pisces, or you're resonating with Pisces energy, the idea is that you would have to imagine you're not a Pisces. You would have to, if you're confused about something, or if somebody's confused about something, they would have to imagine that they're not you. If somebody's confused about why you didn't do something, they would have to basically take themselves out of their own experience. And it's like somebody might say, why did you this? And the answer is, this is structure. Why did you blank? Or why didn't you blank? And you might say something like, because I'm not you. Interesting. Because I'm not you. Why didn't you? So it's a level of what you can predict for this timing, what you can see for this timing. What I'm seeing for the moment when the moon is in Pisces is a moment of clarity where you recognize that when someone asks you a question and the answer is because I'm not you, this answer will break the cycle that happens here. I'm getting a bit fuzzy in this energy. It's kind of confusing me a little bit. I'm getting stumped. Let's sit with it a little bit longer. Lord of Pentacles. The Ouroboros. Yeah, snake eating its own tail. No kidding, right? More specifically, if you want to take this further, to resonate with it further, there is something like, because it's not all about you. Why did you do something that I wouldn't have done? Because it's not all about you. That's the structure here, and that's what I'm seeing, is that kind of like almost an argument, but it would be more like there's a sense of release that comes from a moment like this, that this is a productive conversation. You're being guided to pay attention to this part of that timing. It's warming up the machine. It's awkward. It's very awkward to say the obvious. It's awkward to say something obvious, but sometimes you are in a position where if you point out the obvious, it makes a big difference. 9 of Wands. I know you're in this for the long haul. You're trying to go for what somebody else wants. But every once in a while, or maybe just specifically in this timing, they're saying something to you like, why aren't you doing the things I want you to do? And to point out the obvious is because I'm not you. And it is an effort to continue going for what they want. They might not see that in the moment. They might be a snake eating their own tail. They might be kind of stuck in their own loop. And it could be that in this time, you might resonate with a time during, when the moon is in Taurus, you might resonate more with being stuck in a loop yourself and having to get yourself out of it. And this is somebody else is stuck in a loop. And they're releasing themselves from a loop. And basically the only thing you can do is point out the obvious. And they're going to have to sort that out from there. If that's a person. Now, I've been getting a lot of messages with the Lord of Pentacles here about workplace or even government. And, debt relief was something that came in the first Gemini reading. The Lovers, right? And I would say if I put this in like a workplace scenario, like there would be something like, why didn't you lock the doors? And it's like, because I'm not the one with the keys. And having that way of just confidently saying, pointing out the obvious, that there's something like sometimes you do have to like, this Pisces energy has people considering a whole lot all at once and not a lot of sense gets made of it. And there is something to finding the thing within all of that helps that energy deal with itself. Grounding energy is what I'm seeing, weirdly enough. The Lovers. This looks to me like someone who wants to break a cycle. Someone who would choose to break a cycle if they knew how. And they might need somebody like you from time to time to basically be on their team when they're not on their own team. One more card for you. And then the reading will be over. The Dream Projector. The Emperor. See this? You see this wave coming here? And we have earlier, like right away, we had this wave coming up, crashing up on their house. Okay, the moon is here in a situation for them where things are interesting. It's an awkward beginning. It's an awkward beginning to something. It's awkward to have to point out the obvious to somebody who isn't capable of seeing it in that moment because we don't want to offend people or whatever the reason for it. They're thinking that everything should be lining up and they're noticing that it's not. In a workplace scenario, they're thinking that they're believing that everything should be happening as scheduled, and it's not. But if they didn't share the schedule with you, for example, like maybe you didn't show up to a shift at work, and they say, why didn't you show up? Like, because you didn't post the schedule. It's almost like letting somebody screw up, almost like letting somebody get to a place where they're going to ask you that question. I don't think it's designed, but it's like there's an opportunity to point out the obvious that is going to make a big difference in someone's ability to get out of their own loop. If it's your workplace, that's awkward. It's awkward to have to say to your boss, for example, who is trying to scold you for not showing up, or who's trying to scold you for something that you did or you didn't do. And why didn't you do that? Because you never told me I had to. It's like a little bit like removing yourself from being responsible for something that not that because you're not trying to take responsibility for your role. I see the dream projector. It's that when I see this wave crashing on the house for them, it's that it's their wave. And they don't see the situation. They're imagining that you're supposed to be taking care of your own wave. You're supposed to be taking care of your own ups and downs. And they're supposed to be taking care of theirs. And there's maybe this kind of suggestion on their part that you're not taking responsibility for your own wave, for your own kind of the waves that are crashing up against your own house. But let's just say when you point out the obvious, you take on the role of allowing their wave to crash up on your house. This is happening in my life right now because you're not taking responsibility for your waves. Little something like that. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know how that's going to resonate for you, but I have a strong feeling that it's going to resonate for anybody who wants to watch this reading when the moon is in Pisces next. Thanks so much, and come join us on Twitch if you'd like to see more readings. Take care.